And now I would like to introduce Mr. Smokey Thomas, who is the president of OPSU, who represents our child and youth workers who are working in our community agencies across the province. And we are very pleased to be joining with them and uniting with them as well in bringing together a united message about what it is that our children and youth need, and those who serve them are also in need of fairness and equity as well. So welcome.
Good morning, can you hear me? I bring greetings of solidarity from 130,000 OPSU members all across the province, and I bring greetings as well from our 3,000 workers, frontline workers who work in children's mental health across the province. And it's always amazing going about fifth. Your speech is gone by the time you get up here, so with all the stats and figures. I want to start out by agreeing with all the previous speakers. I believe we are at a tipping point. My history is that I graduated in 1972 when the nursing schools were still in hospitals, so I've been around for a while. I know I only look about 42, but I've been around quite a bit longer. And we used to have Beach Grove in Kingston, and it was an inpatient treatment facility for children. Over the years, we saw all those beds closed, all those services cut, and it continues to this day. 14 to 17 years, there have been no increases to the transfer payment sector for children's mental health services and related agencies. 14 of 17 years. That means that the drop just due to inflation, so the decrease in funding is beyond profound. It's actually unconscionable. And I do agree, all three political parties had a hand in that. No one's ever attempted to fix it. So as I started out, I'm a registered practical nurse by trade. I spent almost all my adult life working in mental health at the former Kingston Psychiatric Hospital. When I first started out, we were called the Ontario Hospital Kingston. 75, we changed to the Kingston Psychiatric Hospital. In 2001, we got divested. We're now called Providence Continuing Care Mental Health Services. So I've been in mental health all my adult life, and but not children's mental health. However, I've had so many adolescents admitted their first admission, first onset of schizophrenia, first onset of manic depression, first onset of depression. 17, 18, 19 years of age, as soon as sometimes before they're legally an adult, we would have them admitted. And the sad part is that they could have been prevented. So many things could have been made better for families, for individuals, had all governments not literally abandoned youth. All the comments about if you have cancer are absolutely right, and all those things are fair, and all those things are proper to do. But I do agree that the coalitions that we're building around children's mental health, children's aid societies, all that transfer payment sector are historic. I can't remember, I've been doing this union thing for a long, long time, since the early 80s. And I do never, ever recall a time when we had such a broad-based coalition to go after the government, to put fair funding into a sector like we have today. So when you have the service providers, the executive directors, and get this, all trade unions, prior to the budget, they had this budget consultation process. So the Liberals, to their credit, agreed to meet with the labor leaders of the largest unions in Ontario. So you had Kenny Lowenza from the auto workers, Wayne Fraser from steel, myself, Fred Hahn from CUPE, well, Sid from CUPE, then Sid from the OFL. We had Teamsters, CEP. We had all these large unions, ONA, Ontario Nurses Association, the Teachers Federation. All of us met with Dwight Duncan and the Minister of Labour. 3 priorities. 1, job creation, right? Help for people who have lost their jobs so they can get retrained and back into the workforce. 2, public services. Proper funding for public services across the province. And 3, fair taxation. When we broke those arguments out, it was amazing to hear leaders of private sector unions imploring the government to put more funding into ODSP, more funding into children's mental health, more funding into children's aid societies, urging them to make that a priority. That's a first in Ontario. In all my years of being in the labor movement, that is a first. So you take everything we have going for us right now, and well, by times I'm sure, you know, it looks bleak at times. I know from where I sit it looks bleak, so I can't imagine being a service provider or a family that's experiencing what I know mental health issues do to families. I can't imagine what that's like, but I can imagine an Ontario where we do better. And I think we get there by doing what we're doing here today. I agree with all the previous speakers. And when it's interesting when you have a labor guy talking to an executive director, and we agree on everything. I don't know if it should be scary or encouraging. But I think it goes beyond just putting enough money in this sector. I'm looking for a premier. I'm looking for Laurel Broughton as a cabinet minister. I'm looking for politicians who will say that people of Ontario matter more than corporate tax breaks. The people and our children and our youth of Ontario matter more than corporate breaks, corporate incentives, big bonuses to managers in the government. I want the Premier to say that. I want the Premier to demonstrate it. I want to see them put money into this sector. It's not too late for them to do it in this fiscal year. I mean, they're borrowing money to give people tax breaks, so you'll like that HST. They're actually borrowing that money so that they can give it back to you, and then, anyway, it seems kind of strange to me. So if they're going to borrow money, why not borrow and put it into people? The biggest investment of the infrastructure dollars in this province could have been, I applaud all the bridges and everything else, because that infrastructure sewer has been neglected for almost a generation. However, I do agree, the first investment in those infrastructure dollars should have been in public services. Should have been in public services. So how are you going to be in an agency, running an agency, and run? Because we have children's aid societies, some of them were filing for bankruptcy. It was CUPE, OPSU, and the leaders of those associations came together, lobbied the government. We did a press conference inside CUPE and us, and we shamed the government into putting in some more money, but it's one stopgap funding. So just now, I'll just give you one. The Windsor Regional Children's Center has had a 50% increase in referrals. Gee, do you suppose the economy has anything to do with mental health, stress on families? And in Sarnia-Lambton, the Community Girls Home will close its residential doors for good in 2011. Now that should never happen in a province that's supposed to be one of the most progressive, one of the most caring, one of the most kindest, compassionate societies on the planet. I say to the government, well, you know what? Shame on you.
Shame.
Shame on you. But I do agree. I don't think they're being mean-spirited. I don't think they do it on purpose. I think I know they're politicians. So they succumb to the loudest voices, to the people that lobby the best, to the people that have the most influence. And regrettably, an 8 or a 9-year-old with depression or a teenager with depression doesn't have the capacity to lobby like the rest of us adults do. And I take great heart in the number of youth out here today. I spoke last fall, I think it was, Canadian Federation and the Ontario Federation students had a rally here. And I was it's not really related, but it is. The number of youth out that day was a couple of thousand, and I had, you know what, I got great hope for our future because there were that many young people who were interested, committed, dedicated to changing our society and making it work for young people and making a positive future. I thought that was marvelous. I have great hopes that if we stick together, lobby together, put a lot of pressure on them, we take it, there's events all week long all across the province. Our union, OPSU, is committed. We're committed financially and human resources. And I say we never give up the fight. Never give up the fight, because even when we think we've won, there'll be more to do. So we just constantly keep on them. And I believe that that tipping point is here, so we just need to give all three political parties just enough of a tip to get them over into the positive side of the ledger rather than the negative. I want to applaud the organizers of this event and the families that have taken part, and the people that come forward and speak about their personal appearances. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of commitment. So we're with you all the way. We'll be with you forever. Solidarity. Thank you.